It was a dull day, as a 14-year-old angry Luigi was eating a blueberry muffin and saw a newspaper about a cherry butler and her friends yet on another adventure. Angry Luigi sighed and then took a bite of his muffin, as two bullies grabbed Angry Luigi, who gulped. Those bullies tossed Angry Luigi into the garbage, as some kids laughed as Angry Luigi frowned. Angry Luigi then got out of the garbage and wiped some stuff off his clothes. Sometimes I wish I didn't quit my adventures, Angry Luigi said. He came home from the Altumber. Hi, Mom, Altumber says. Hi, boys, Skyla says while feeding Emma. How's school? Skyla asked. Boring, Altumber said. Don't worry, I'm sure you won't be bored tomorrow, Skyla says. You sure? Altumber said as Emma spat out her food. Yes, Skyla said, before narrowing her eyes at the mess. An evil lair, Big Macs, had just been finished draining a planet. That's done. I need to attack the other world soon, Big Mac said as he put his fingers near his face. The process has been slowing me down, Big Mac said. Chrissy was hearing this and was listening in her ear in the wall of their pink-painted room, which contained the toys. I'm going to help Dad, she said. The Waterlash family had been having dinner as Tubber and Bob were eating their pasta like animals as Emma giggles. Boys, stop it, Skyla said, annoyed. This happens every Friday, Angry Luigi says to the readers before he took out his hat and pulled out something that appeared to be a newspaper of Uchus and his friends. One day I will meet you guys, he said. Angry Luigi then walked out of his room and then got ready for bed as he began to sleep. Hours later, Angry Luigi got out of bed, saw a blue light, and as he jumped out of the window of the 14-year-old's eyes squinted a bit before the beam picked up him, and Angry Luigi shielded his eyes. Angry Luigi was in a city. It looked retro, and his body was in retro art style. Whoa, I'm on an adventure, Angry Luigi says. Angry Luigi then smiled and then started to get excited before realizing something. I'm alone in this adventure. Now what do I do? He asked himself. He began to walk around as Angry Luigi sees Geppetto doing some finishing touches on Pinocchio. Whoa, Pinocchio? Angry Luigi asked himself as he took on a Vanish cap and then turned on Vanish Angry Luigi and then walked around and smiled at all the clocks. I wonder what will happen next. Angry Luigi said as he watches Geppetto playing with Pinocchio as Geppetto moved Pinocchio as a scare figure. Ha! He then laughed before Geppetto had whipped out his head and Angry Luigi dashed through the walls and reverts back. Almost forgot the limit, Angry Luigi says as he starts leaping away as Geppetto opened the door looking around. Hello? Geppetto asked, looking around before closing the door. Right as Angry Luigi sees the family going to bed as a blue light entered the place. Sweet mother of mayhem, Angry Luigi shouts as his hat flew off his head in a few small moments as Angry Luigi starts shivering. I gotta help Pinocchio before the lights gets him, he said as he ran inside the house and spots the blue fairy as Angry Luigi looked terrified. Do not be afraid, young Brandy, the blue fairy says. How do you know my real name? Angry Luigi asked. I've seen your past adventures, the blue fairy said. Really? Luigi asked in awe. Good Geppetto, you have been given so much happiness to others. You deserve to have your wish come true. Little puppet made out of pine wake, and the wand touches Pinocchio. The gift of life is kind, and the blue fairy says Pinocchio can come to life. I can move. I can talk, Pinocchio says in awe as the blue fairy giggled. Yes, Pinocchio, I've given you the life, the blue fairy says. Why? Pinocchio asked. Because tonight your father made a wish for a real boy, but you have to become real, the blue fairy says. Up to me how? Pinocchio asked. Angry Luigi and you coincidence will help you, the blue fairy said, confusing the boys as Jimmy landed next to Pinocchio. I'll tell you all the coincidence that voices tend to have people ignore, Jimmy says. Well, I'm going to head off for now. Also, the fire is dangerous, Angry Luigi says as he dashed off. Angry Luigi skidded down once he stopped when he realized he was lost. Uh-oh, he said. Chrissy was walking down the grand hallway, thinking of a plan when she decided to take a right, enters a room with some ripped up blueprintings, cut up wires, a hole in the wall that were small electric sparks flying around. Chrissy zipped over to a control and pressed a button on the machine to make some noise and vibrates. A portal arrives as Chrissy entered it and closes. Angry Luigi then walked around the blue room and looked in awe. "This is beautiful," Angry Luigi says. "Thank you, Angry Luigi. Now get some rest," the blue fairy says, as Angry Luigi nodded and went to bed. LM looked over and walked around the field and dug around and grabbed a book when a flashlight was shining on LM, whose eyes, wide as a kid, with a white shirt, blue pants, looked down. This was Jason Brine. "Oh, it's you, Angry Luigi," Jason says to LM Tubber, thinking it was Angry Luigi. "Why, you little brat," LM Tubber said as he dashed and kicked him to the door as Jason fell out cold. It shows an 11-year-old Angry Luigi running around. "So this is Gotham. Nice," Angry Luigi said. Then saw a 11-year-old Jason on top of the rooftop running from Forte. "Oh, brother," Angry Luigi said as he ran in front of Forte. "Leave him alone or you're mine," he said. Forte tried to swipe angrily at Luigi, but Angry Luigi jumped away and landed. "Ha, you miss," he said, when ran with super speed and kicked Forte as hard as Forte was sent back. Luigi then shot crystals at Forte, but he dodged them all and headbutted Luigi off of the rooftop, and he began to run along the walls. Forte then flew down, and then Luigi tried to hit Forte, but he dodged, and Angry Luigi shot a thunderball at Forte, who dodged. Then Luigi kicked him to it and landed on the road when Forte scratched Luigi away. Luigi was then set flying to the far side of the road. "Okay, Forte, you're good, but I'm gonna go full power," Angry Luigi said as Jason dove down, kicked Forte, and then Luigi dashed over and hammered Forte in the head. "Bah, with you two you give in to my tone," Forte said as he vanished. "Want to be friends?" Luigi asked. "Sure," Jason said. "Later," Luigi said as he dashed off before dashing back. "How did you get here anyway?" he asked. Jason shrugged. "I'm lost, but I'm trying to find my way back on my own," Jason said as Luigi looked around and saw a super leaf turn into a raccoon. Angry Luigi then flew off. "Ah," Jason says, holding his head as Henry opened the door and saw Jason. Meanwhile, LM YouTuber was dashing away. "Time to head and find my brother," LM Tuber says. Angry Luigi woke up and starts looking around for Pinocchio. "Pinocchio, where are you?" he asked, while bouncing on the bridge. Luigi then took out a clock and realizes the time before putting it away and dashing away. He was then running and then tripped over to some kids laughed. Luigi was running, but he smelt a pizza and dreamily. Suddenly, Pinocchio then walked by Honest John and Gideon. "Come on," Angry Luigi said as he followed them. Chrissy spots Angry Luigi and smiles as a green aurora covered her body. She was sent flying towards some trees. As she landed so hard, she spat out the leaves and groaned as the celestial pan was being landed in front of her. "Who are you?" Chrissy asked, just being shot as a laser from Chrissy, who just leapt away and shot 3 electric discs at Alien X, who took it as nothing as Chrissy glared at her as the Ultramix. Chrissy then smiles and roots out of the climb of the Ultramix, and then climbed up towards her arms. The vines were covering her legs. Chrissy smiled and looked around, and as 6 black seed bombs grew as Wildvine struck a pose. Wildvine shot vines at Alien X, who teleported in front of Wildvine, who was shocked to see as Alien X reeled his first back before lunging it towards Wildvine's stunned face. Angry Luigi then saw a sign that says Strumble's Show. "Well, here's the place," Luigi says to himself as Jimmy looked up. "Hey, buddy, why don't we work together?" Jimmy says, as Angry Luigi smiled and ate a mini mushroom, shrinking as Jimmy looked amazed. "Okay, let's go save Pinocchio," Jimmy said, as mini Angry Luigi nodded and the duo ran. Later that evening, a crowd of people gathered around the gypsy caravan, and a large male gypsy wearing green and red announced, Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude the performance of this great show, Stromboli, the master showman, that's me, he mumbled something in Italian before continuing, and got a special permission of this management. That's me too, he said, another Italian phrase under his breath before he continued. He is presenting something to you that you will absolutely refuse to believe. In the meantime, Jiminy Cricket had jumped up to a lamppost and was fighting off a few fireflies as he got to the light. When the fireflies disappeared, the cricket then looked down, mumbling at the crowd, and remarked, "Wow, this looks like a sellout." Stromboli kept on announcing, "Introducing the one only marionette who could sing and dance and absolutely without the ends of strings." He muttered something in another Italian phrase, as a gypsy did a quick prayer in Italian before he finished. "But first, I give you the one and only Pinocchio!" The whole crowd clapped and cheered, while Jiminy Cricket frowned and scoffed. Pfft, what a build-up. Below, Stromboli conducted his band to play some music, and some marionettes and trumpeters appeared as the curtain rose, and a familiar wooden boy was introduced. Pinocchio then moved around a little bit before going down, singing as he went down some steps. "I've got no strings to hold me down." His singing was cut off when he tripped and fell forward down the stairs. When he landed, Pinocchio got his nose stuck in the wooden hole in the stage, and everyone started to laugh. Up on the lamppost, Jiminy commented with disappointment, "Go ahead, make a fool of yourself. Then maybe you'll listen to your coincidence." Many Angry Luigi looked on the screen and shrugged. At the performance, Stromboli gave an angry, high-pitched squeal as he took Pinocchio and cursed in Italian, before calming down and gently placing the little puppet back on his feet. Now this went on as Pinocchio sang, "I've got no strings to hold me down, to make me fret or make me frown. I had strings, but you can see there are no strings on me." Jiminy Cricket and Minnie Angry Luigi kept their wooden friend with disgust and disappointment as Pinocchio danced on stage and kept singing. "Hi-ho, merry-ho, that's the way to be. I want the world to know, nothing ever worries me." Meanwhile, Stromboli told the audience in Italian expression and added with a laugh, "What'd I tell you, eh? I've got no strings to have fun. I'm not tied up to anyone. I've got strings, but as you can see, there are no strings on me." The background scenery then changed to a rural scene from the Netherlands, and a Dutch girl puppet came down to Pinocchio and sang, "You've got no strings, your arm is free, to love by me the zerdo z, ja ja ja. If you would woo, I'd boost the strings for you." The more the Dutch girl puppets appeared, and they did a traditional Dutch dance for Pinocchio, the wooden boyfriend copying them, but he ended up being bummed about. The scenery then became an image of the market from Paris, France, and the French girl puppet appeared, and Pinocchio began to sing. "You've got no strings, comme ci, comme ça. Your favor faire is ooh la la. I've got strings, but in terre nos, I'd cut my strings for you." The more French girl puppets then appear right in front of Pinocchio and danced the can-can. Jiminy Cricket looked down and grabbed a pair of eyeglasses as he gasped at the girls with excitement as the mini Angry Luigi hopped down. Soon the can-can ended, and the scene then changed into a red square in Russia. The Russian girl puppet came down and sang, "Down here the Volga flows. There's a Russian rendezvous where me and Ivan goes, but I rather go with you. Hey!" The puppets of Russian male Cossacks came down and did the dance while shouting "Hey!" Pinocchio tried copying the moves, even shouted "Hey!" to himself. The Russian puppets even twirled around him, and by the time the dance was over, Pinocchio was caught up in the puppets and sang out, "There are no strings on me." The crowd then laughed and applauded as Pinocchio's act ended. The Russian puppets disappeared, making Pinocchio fall onto the stage. His nose got stuck again, and the hat appeared on his head, and he looked up and taking the piece of wood. His nose was stuck with him. Then he got up to bow. Coins were tossed, and Stromboli took Pinocchio off before announcing, "Thank you, Grays. Yes, thank you, Grays." Everyone finished applauding as the gypsy mumbled another Italian phrase. Meanwhile, Angry Luigi snuck in and decided to look for clues. "Come on, there must be here somewhere," he says. "I wonder where I am," Alan said. Alan was in another World War II. Cannonballs were about to hit him. Alem used an explosive wave to save them and jumped the guy who shot a key blast to an army person. But this was not my plan, Alem Tuber says, before taking out an army cap. But it'll be fun, Alem Tuber says as he took out a bazooka, shot someone off screen as they were screaming. Luigi then reverted to his normal self as Stromboni noticed Angry Luigi. Hey buddy, I was thinking we could ditch everything you worked so hard and bail, Angry Luigi said, before eating a metal mushroom. The metal mushroom covered Angry Luigi as metal Angry Luigi punched the ground, making the shockwave as Stromboni fell over. Ouch, Stromboni says as he got up. The angry metal Luigi punched him in the guts. As Stromboni held his gut in pain, the puppets started to come to life. Yikes, Pinocchio says, as angry Luigi reverted to a normal Chucky self, and he stabbed Stromboni. Angry Luigi then carried Pinocchio and ran off at super speed as Chucky chased him. Angry Luigi dashed as Chucky was still chasing them. Alien X knocked Chrissy to an ocean as Angry Luigi ran by, not noticing Chucky hit Alien X with a knife, which broke as Alien X broke his head off. Angry Luigi and Pinocchio stopped and began panting. I think we lost him, Pinocchio says. Alem Tuber just still floating around shooting people. Best day ever, Alem Tuber says. Angry Luigi was running when he noticed he lost Pinocchio and ran to see Honest John and Gideon taking the puppet away. Come on, we gotta get him, Jiminy says, as Luigi then looked and followed Jimmy. Soon, Angry Luigi and Pinocchio was sitting with the other kids as Lampwick smirked. You two look strange. My name's Lampwick, Lampwick says. Luigi didn't say anything. I'm Pinocchio, Pinocchio said. Chrissy was then walking when she felt weird butterfly shot at the waves as Chrissy blocked was thrown away. Chrissy then turned into an alien and was still fired a laser destroying them. You could have potential, girl, but just need to be on the right side, Alien X says before teleporting away. Luigi then saw the kids running around in Pleasure Island and sighed before noticing the pie area was his eyes show his images of pies for a moment before he zipped over, falling through a hole. Angry Luigi fell and was surrounded by guards. The coachman smiles evilly. You really thought you could spy on me, could you? The coachman taunted, as Angry Luigi was there when an explosion as the coachman looked at the dust and smoke, before back looking away as Angry Luigi was gone, and there was a note. You can't see me, Angry Luigi wrote. Alem Tuber was chasing when he spotted Chrissy, who glared at him. It's you, Chrissy says, and she was about to hit her Ultra Mix as Alem Tuber kicked Chrissy, who was sent flying. Chrissy grabbed the tree branch and swung herself up and shot an electric blast at Alem Tuber, who smirked and dashed away. As Chrissy slammed her feet onto the ground with the electric waves going around in the area, paralyzing Alem Tuber, who couldn't move as Chrissy smirked. Chrissy hits the Omnitrix. Chrissy's arm then turned red as her eyes turned pink. As Chrissy looked down at her feet glowed red. She grew wings and a tail. Jetray flew around before landing down. Jetray then flew around looking for Angry Luigi. Pinocchio was horrified as Lampwick grew a donkey ears and tail. Back at the pool building, Lampwick scoffed as he drank some beer. Ha! Hear that little twerp and that beetle talk. You think there was something going to happen to us? At his last word, his ears transformed in those of a donkey. Pinocchio saw the transformation and looked at his beer, thinking the beer might have caused something to have his ears transformed. He nervously placed his glass of beer back on the table. Lampwick took no notice as to what was happening and continued scoffing as he shot more pool balls with this stick. Coincidence not, Bowie. At his last word, a donkey's tail sprouted from behind. Pinocchio saw that the tail sprout, took the cigar out of his mouth, and then tossed the cigar aside. Where do they get that stuff? Lampwick grumbled as he ran over to the other side of the pool table. How do you really expect to be a real boy? He then turned around and made another shot as he asked, What make they think I look like? He turned around, revealing his face that had transformed of that of a donkey's, and finished, A jackass? A lampwick then smoked out a cigar. Pinocchio said, "You sure do." He then laughed a bit before he yee-hawed like a donkey. And as the puppet put his hands over his mouth, Lampwick mocked. "Hey, you laugh like a donkey." He laughed too, then produced his own yee-haw. Shocked as the troublemaker put his hands over his mouth and asked, "Did that come out of me?" Pinocchio frightfully nodded as Lampwick then felt around his face. He was shocked to see that his mouth felt funny, and when he felt up to his ears, they were surprisingly long. "Huh?" he asked as he felt the length of his ears. "What the? What's going on?" Lampwick frantically looked at himself in a nearby mirror and let out a scream of terror as he saw his reflection. "I'm a double-cross!" he cried as he ran out of the room. "Help! Help! Somebody help! Help! I'm in pain! Help!" He then got down to his knees in front of Pinocchio and pleaded, "Please, you gotta help me. Be a pal. Call that beetle, call that kid, call anyone." At this last word, he had his hands transformed into donkey hooves, making Pinocchio gasp with fright. "Mama!" Lampwick cried. "Mama!" He then got on all fours and bayed like a donkey. All Pinocchio could do was watch in terror behind a chair as Lampwick kicked his hind legs up and down, broke several items before running away. In a matter of minutes, Pinocchio's ears transformed into a gray donkey ears. "Oh, what's happened?" he cried out in shock and fear. In the meantime, Angry Luigi and Jiminy Cricket were running over to the pool building as fast as they could. "I hope we're not too late," Jiminy said. Inside the building, Pinocchio frantically wondered, "Well, what'll I do?" He looked around as his tail sprung out from his behind. Just then, Angry Luigi and Jiminy came in, as Luigi carried Pinocchio, and Jiminy ran out of there screaming. Chrissy then entered the Pleasure Island and saw some dead guards as she runs past the guards and past some traps and swiftly avoids the arrows and leaped and dashed by Alien X, who was punching a guard. As Chrissy saw a locked door and shot an electric blast, destroying the door as she noticed a pedal stone as she took a cube and laughed and did a victory dance before realizing it was fake. "Oh, come on," Chrissy says. Angry Luigi then looked scared as the coachman was blocking the only way out. As Pinocchio looked scared as Angry Luigi, he shot odd crystals at the coachman and looked nothing like as Luigi had made the clone. As the coachman whipped and as it poofed, the real Angry Luigi took out a tanuki suit and the brown fur covered his body. He smiled and became the tanuki. Angry Luigi then dashed towards the coachman, and the coachman leaped and kicked the tanuki Angry Luigi, sending him flying back as he shot a thunder blast at the coachman, who slapped it away and punched him, sending the Angry Luigi to his normal form. Pinocchio and Jiminy ran off as Angry Luigi slowly gets up and took out a fire flower, and he used it for the flames to cover him. And Fire Angry Luigi smiles and dashes through to try and punch the coachman, who retaliates with his whip, and Angry Luigi acts as fast as he uses his jet flames to put out himself right before shooting a fire blast that the coachman making an explosion. As the coachman was sent a shockwave towards Angry Luigi, Fire Angry Luigi was sent flying. He then was reverted to normal as he took out a star and became a Star Angry Luigi. He then dashed over and punched the coachman with fury of fists and appeared cutted to him, and then leaped down and then took out his mallet. And he whacked the coachman down, creating a big crater, and unleashed a big thunderball hitting the coachman, who smiled evilly as Angry Luigi was reverted back to normal. "I guess it's time for you to play, Bruty," Angry Luigi says in his head. Suddenly a Kai blast landed, causing an explosion as LM YouTuber landed with a smirk, before turning Super Saiyan, unleashing the bright golden aurora, and glared at the coachman, who looked annoyed. "Bro, how did you get there?" Angry Luigi asked. "I'm not answering that," LM Tuber said. "Now help the puppet," LM Tuber says. "Give him the twin power," Angry Luigi says, and then he dashed off, as LM Tuber then smirked and dashed towards the coachman, and tries to take a punch to the coachman, who blocked the yellow shockwave rang out as the coachman knocked LM Tuber back and kicked him in the gut, and punched him in the face as he starts whipping Alan Tubber, who was taking critical damage before the teen turned into Super Saiyan 2, and then grabbed the whip and broke it. The coachman glared. The two resembled green and blue blurs as they dashed out, colliding with each other, as Cape Angry Luigi was then flying as the coachman nearly hit him, who flew aside as the blurs of it kept colliding shockwaves, ringing out of the waves as they got higher in Pleasure Island, and it was slowly being destroyed. Chrissy took notice of this and starts dashing out of the basement, exited out as the shockwaves of the coachman punch Alan Tubber, who shot a couple blasts a couple times at the coachman, who shot a boom blast hitting Alan Tubber, and there was an explosion. Suddenly a red aurora blew away some smoke as Alan Tubber turned to Super Saiyan God. What? Chrissy asked in shock. Angry Luigi arrived and found Pinocchio and Jiminy. Hey guys, the coachman won't be at us for a while, Angry Luigi says. I'm going to save my father, Pinocchio says, running off. As Angry Luigi looked confused, he decided to follow. Alan Tubber was punching the coachman over and over again, and kicked him down and charged him a Maglargic gun, before the purple energy attacked the coachman, causing an explosion as Alien X cuts the coachman's head off. Hey, I was going to beat him, Alan Tubber says. Too slow, Alien X says before teleporting away. Alan Tubber then charged up with the blue energy attack. Big bang attack, Alan Tubber says, before unleashing it to the island and destroying it. Angry Luigi and Pinocchio looked at the water as Angry Luigi gulped before realizing it was out of frog suits. Sorry, buddy, I can't swim, Angry Luigi says before remembering something. A 6-year-old Angry Luigi, Alan Tubber, ran into a room and starts packing quickly. As the duo jumped into a color side as they popped out of the basement and into a wall. Smack! Let's go, Alan Tubber says, as a pair of evil scientists named the Clusterfields arrived, wearing black uniforms and hazard signs, and some goo on their gloves as they stretched their arms forward, grabbing onto the kids, restraining them as Angry Luigi lets out several green electric sparks, shocking the Clusterfields as the two boys and Alan Tubber leaped up and as he delivered a swivel punch to Mr. Clusterfield's face, sending him flying across the room as he landed on the wall and caused the crater to disappear, kicking Miss Clusterfield's angry away. Angry Luigi then grabbed onto his brother as they ran out of the orphanage and into the starry night as there was an explosion, causing the smoke to file out as the bricks were falling and the duo was running off. A 6-year-old Christy woke up with a big red bump on her head. An 11-year-old Angry Luigi ran out of a volcano while carrying an 11-year-old Bill as 11-year-old Alan Tubber flew by. Ha, that was fun, Bill says, as Luigi then noticed a paper showing a younger Cherry Butler Ashafik's photo. Hey, they look like me but better, Angry Luigi said, hugging the paper close. But that was before I'll do anything to protect my friends. If Cherry Adish won't let me, Angry Luigi said as he leaped in the water. Luigi, no! Alan Tubber says, as he looked like he lost a life. Alan Tubber grabbed Pinocchio, leaped onto the water, as Angry Luigi was drowning. Alan Tubber then grabbed him and pulled him out of the water and placed his twin down. I'll stay with Pinocchio, Alan Tubber said. Alan Tubber flew in the water, and he flew out and needed some air. Damn it, Alan Tubber said. Meanwhile, Jetre in the cube in the water, she flew over and grabbed the tube as Monstro woke up and chased Jetre before eating her as Pinocchio swam away. Pinocchio kept swimming until he ends up getting out of the water and the Monstro eats him. Chrissy timed out as she saw Geppetto and as Pinocchio was trying to get his attention. As Chrissy smiled softly and grabbed the cube and pressed the button, it opened a portal and some butterflies took it as Chrissy glared and hits her Omnitrix, transforming into Big Chill, and then flew later as Pinocchio sees it and looked confused as Geppetto held him close as the whale had glowed green. Alan Tubber then looked confused and flew towards it. Suddenly, Angry Luigi woke up. Brutally, let's pound. Angry Luigi then unleashed his black aurora as Bertley smiles dashed so fast that he was gone from the naked eye. He started punching the whale with brutal strikes as he spat out Geppetto, Pinocchio, and Big Chill. Brutally then started breaking it, revealing it as a robot as the man tries to sneak away, but Tubber punched him. Chrissy then sees this and snuck away, before smiling and run into the night. It seems all this guy was behind it all, Tubber said. Antonio? Geppetto asked. Yes, it's me. I needed to save that stupid money for a puppet, Antonio said. A light beamed at Pinocchio and became a real boy. You did it, Angry Luigi says, hugging Pinocchio. Pinocchio hugged back as Geppetto hugged them both, as Tubber crossed his arms. Angry Luigi pulled back and sees a green and white Omnitrix. Wow, Angry Luigi says, as Tubber has a red and black one. Hey, Pinocchio, stay safe, Tubber says. Thanks, you two, for everything, Pinocchio said as he waved, as Angry Luigi and Tubber were teleported home. Alright, we did it, Tubber says, high-fiving his brother as Angry Luigi sees a paper of Charionetus and smiled. Tubber then dashed off into the night, as Angry Luigi hesitates for a bit, before leaping his brother and looked on the screen and shrugged before running his brother through the green and blue behind the dust forms of the end. Chrissy ran back to her room and fell asleep. Sir Planet, Earth is coming up. The boy at just photo is around, Wendy says, as Big Max laughed evilly. A few weeks later, hey guys, it's me, Angry Luigi says. Ever since my adventure, I've been getting some training, nearly died a few times, but I'm managing, he said. In a way, hey, let's get back to training, Alien X says. Alright, that was Angry Luigi's Adventures of Pinocchio by Angry9guy. This, honestly, I really don't know what to think when I first saw this. I mean, this honestly was definitely really something different I never really expected to read on this channel. I mean, I have read some really weird stuff online, and I have read some pretty weird stories on here, which, I mean, this is not out of the ordinary, but honestly, this story seems to be pretty interesting. It does have a really good concept and all, but there are a few things that I really want to point out. Now, I'm going to keep the review as short as possible because this story was long. But what I'm going to definitely say was, it kind of reminds me of Pooh's Adventure Wiki. Now, I'm not saying this to be insulting or anything, but that's kind of what this story reminds me of. Because, those Pooh's Adventure Wiki videos, if you guys know about what those are, you probably should know, by now what that is. I do plan to probably make a video on it, but I don't know when that will be, or if I ever get the chance to talk about the Pooh's Adventure Wiki, because I do want to state my opinion on it. It's pretty cringe, in my opinion, but like I said, I respect people's opinions on it, so there's that. This story, the grammar was pretty good, although there were a couple of grammatical errors, and yeah, those could be fixed up if you put it through Google Docs. I'm pretty sure Google Docs could easily fix, the grammatical errors in that. I do know for a fact that there were a couple of run-on sentences in this story, so this story was a little bit hard to read, but other than that, I mean, it was okay. I mean, it was okay for me to read this story without any problem. Like, I mean, I did stutter some points, but yeah. Despite that, I didn't think this story was that bad. Could use some improvements, but hey, it's not a bad story, At least it's not, a lost episode creepypasta that involves, a bunch of cliches and stuff like that. But I could definitely say the story it is an okay one. Like, I mean, it's an alright one. Not perfect, but definitely not terrible either. So I really would have to say, take what I have to say, Angry9guy, to consideration. Take what I have to say with consideration, and maybe try and use Google Docs or something for your stories in the future, just so then that way it's more readable. It can also help fix out the punctuation errors, sentence structure errors, and even the grammatical errors too. Because I did spot a couple grammatical errors throughout the story, so I kind of wanted to point that out. But despite that, I didn't think this one was bad at all. Not perfect, but definitely not terrible. So, anyways, like I gotta say, I want to thank you so much for letting me read this story, Angry9guy. This was a pretty good story. Like a really fun one to read, actually. A different one, but definitely a good one. I mean, maybe not perfect, but it's definitely a decent one of these decent stories that I've ever came across. But like I said, this is just simply my own personal opinion. If you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. I'm gonna give this story a 7 out of 10. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because there was some grammatical errors in the story, as well as some punctuation errors that need to be fixed up. But like I said, Google Docs can easily help fix the issue. I do find the concept to be quite interesting. And I did also state that this was definitely something different for me to read. I definitely have to really say it's a pretty good one. I mean, not maybe perfect, but I mean, there were some flaws of this story, but it wasn't that bad. So, with that being said, what did you guys personally think of this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Lion Queen. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're brand new here to this channel, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.